I'm doing a podcast, look.
Yeah, shut up. I'm trying to do something.
I'm working. No, you're not.
No, well, you can't. No, we're kind of working. Welcome to the Graphters Podcast. Hello.
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 How are you, Gary?
I'm very, very good, John. How are you?
I'm much better, thank you.
Good. Yes, and to anyone who's listening to this, which eventually there will be, hello to you as well.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, yes. This is I said I'm Gary and he's John and
that was
something like that.
That was rather a bit Hale and Pace-ish. And
it was slightly.
But that's our era, I'm afraid.
I have to say this a bit, isn't it? Nothing wrong with a bit of Hale and Pace. nothing that a bit of little bit of history can't fix.
We could literally do hello Gary, hello Johnny, hello everyone.
Oh no. No. But only if we can wear like those rompery things that they were wearing.
Bill and Ben.
That's it. God, they were, weren't they?
They were.
Oh.
So I'm well. For anyone who knows me and cares, I did have COVID and I survived. But it was pretty grim.
It was what? Oh, pretty grim.
Pretty grim. Yeah.
Yeah. No, actually, I'm very, very glad that my vaccine is coming soon. So, but hey, these are the times. Or if you're listening to this in the future, those were the times.
Those were the times. This was the pandemic. That
Absolutely. Was. Yeah, that was the pandemic. That was.
I think we're digging up too many 80s and 90s TV shows.
Anyway. As anyone who's listening knows, we refer to ourselves as the Graphers, spelt Graphters, not Graphters with a fur, because they're a different podcast altogether. The Graphters Podcast, that one. So if you accidentally came here, stick around. You might enjoy yourself. So, but what do we do, John? What do we do here, John? What are we here to talk about?
We love talking about anything to do with CGI, anything that's to do with computer-generated content, especially in the entertainment industry, whether that be in games, animation, or VFX. And we love open source software.
Yes, we do. Oh, yes, we do. In particular, John,
we love Blender, and we love Critter.
Big pause, yeah. Blender and Critter and everything. I'll tell you what I like more than anything. And this is because today I had to update, because obviously for my day-to-day job, I work in visual effects. Oh, actually, that's very quickly. Let's just do that, actually. So on my day-to-day, I do visual effects and motion graphics and animation for a little company based in Manchester that's done lots of really good stuff. And I'm very, very fortunate to work for them. So that's me. And John?
In my day-to-day, I am now a curriculum director at a college group in the north at Doncaster, and I am the curriculum director for creative and digital technologies, which is fantastic. We cover everything from computer software, IT support, and all the way through to games design, animation, VFX, and content creation for level 3 learners. Having worked in the industry for 20 years, I feel it's a bit of a giving back sort of scenario.
Yeah,
and it is great. It is great. It's a great job to have. They're a great company to work for. I'm not just saying that because they could be listening, but they're very engaging with businesses, and they're very much about what is the right and appropriate skill and education level for people to get jobs. So it's a fantastic place to be, and it was the reason that I chose to work there, and I've never moved. So, but that brings us, I think, to what we do as well, Gary, which is what we're wanting to do is share as much experience as we can, not just ours, because that will get tired very quickly.
When you're saying the same things week on week, yes.
But we're very opinionated about our experiences, and I suppose we're opinionated about what we see happening. When I joined the education sector, it was with the specific mindset to change how games students joined the pipeline for employment. Because I'd seen a lot of showreels, and there were a lot of people out there that were clearly not getting the right skills with some of the education courses that they were on. I won't mention any colleges or universities that were doing that.
No, let's
and
not.
I saw an opportunity to give a little bit back, and it was kind of like the Scouts. I remember when my son was 8 or 9, and he went and joined the Beavers, and we went down and we talked. That for any Americans out there, it's the Scouts before Scouts. That will be left in, I'm sure.
Yes.
And when we went down there, obviously they had the Scout leaders that were running the sessions, and you get asked to do a bit of volunteering, only an hour a week, and before you know it, you're on trips up mountains, camping inside caravan parks, the lot. It's and I suppose that's what happened with me. I started with a bit of part-time work that was, I suppose it was good at the time. I'd got a new baby and it was all sort of fitting together, but more and more it became clear that I needed to give more and more time, and I made the decision to become a tutor. I took my exams and got the qualification in teaching, and then I became a teacher, and several years later got into management because I was frustrated with the pace at which change was happening, and now I'm part of the leadership team helping to shape that, working with industry out externally, and it's been a really good journey for me. So, and I've known Gary such a long time, and all the way through my sort of journey, he's kept me sane and going. Just stick it a bit longer; it will work. And what I will say, and this is my point, took a long way around. It has changed from 2008 when I started. It has definitely changed. The education sector is now mature enough in the creative digital realm to have industry professionals consistently giving into the education pipeline to help us make it a better place.
Yeah, and I come to this in a very, very similar vein. Obviously, I'm more still working in the whole industry, but saying that, I still work in this industry, but I've also done other work teaching as well. And I noticed in the same way that John does that sometimes the way that the teaching is done is not necessarily how it is going, not necessarily in a way that is going to actually help the students. And this is the core thing about all of this is how can we, as two individuals, how can we give something back or create and help to create something, or give information and give knowledge to both students and people who work in the industry at a low level, or anything that, you know, how they can actually get in and how they can develop their skills now before they actually are going to attempt to get in, and feel as though so they're still doing a course, but they are also getting proper input, proper information, as John said, not just from the two of us, but from other people as well, because we will be, as we go on further down this line, further down this chain, we will be dragging in friends. We will be knocking on the virtual doors of people better than us and people worse than us, and mostly the former rather than the latter, I would have thought. To get their insight, to get their information, to get how they see the industry working and what they think is great about what happens in the industry, what they think probably is bad about what happens in the industry. We're going to try and be as candid as possible, I think, aren't we, John?
We're 100% candid.
Yeah. So that anybody who listens to this will get something which is an honest perspective about the industry from an educational viewpoint and also from the viewpoint of actually being in it. And as much as possible, we want to get, and also we are, as I say, we're always going to push open source because we love open source and there's so much good open source out there. We want to try and push towards something with that and with you or anybody else who wants to get involved. So you can actually look back and say, do you know what? Not only am I learning stuff, not only am I getting stuff from other people's perspectives and wisdom and what they've done and where they are, but I've actually managed to create something as well. But we'll come back to that in a while.
The other thing as well, I don't want this podcast to be preachy. Because
I do not want this to be a preachy podcast.
It doesn't want to be preachy because I think there are enough people out there on all social media platforms preaching out. And this is really what we said. That we do the job, we graft, we get the job done, and we move on. And that is how it is. There is a lot of that needed in doing the work. And I'm going to give the first topic of this podcast today. I'm going to give a little bit of time to a bit of a new hero of mine.
I'm an old hero, surely.
This is a new one. I've not met them. Me. I've not met them. I have communicated with them, but not met them. I stumbled across, while I was recovering from COVID, I had a lot of time to consume media, shall we say. YouTube. I know the last podcast was about me and YouTube. This time it's Twitch. It's kind of a new platform every month or week or however long we do these. And I got playing a game called Rust, which is from a games company called Face Punch, and it was like Minecraft for adults, and I will stress the adults bit because it was so shocking waking up on a beach and you are completely bare.
It's that game.
It's that game. There's some really excellent real embedded narratives in the game as well. One of the narratives is you don't get to choose the colour or sex of your character. It's chosen randomly because the creators decided that that's how it is in real life. So I got watching a stream on Twitch. I think it was a streamer called Sir Winter, and he did this weird thing where when he'd finished playing, he had a look round and he basically said he'd been watching this artist who makes content for Rust. And he was going to port us all across and host this guy building things. And in we all poured. There were 60-some thousand of us. And the poor chap at the other end almost had a meltdown because he'd gone from 70 followers to suddenly 60,000 dropping into him. Now, a lot of people dropped off. They were only there for the blood and gore and the game work, and obviously for picking up the drops as well that come as part of Twitch. But I was instantly amazed. I was seeing someone working in Blender, and I watched for a little bit of a while, and I lurked in the background a little bit. And this chap's called Thomas Butters. Check him out on his ArtStation. I think he's got Instagram, and he's definitely got Twitter. He goes by the Twitch stream handle of Art of Pilgrim, and he has been allowed, and honestly I don't know of anyone else ever being allowed to live stream working on game assets for games. I can only assume it's because the Rust platform, the Rust game, has been out a while, and the Twitch platform for Rust is one of the driving forces of its resurgence. So it makes sense to have people there. Watch this guy work his pipeline from Blender to ZBrush to Topogun, back to Blender to UV Map, then off to Substance Painter, where he honestly is like a wizard with the Substance materials. Because I use Smart Materials. He uses Smart Materials, but he builds the material from the ground up. So he starts with a Smart Material, and then adds the masks, then tweaks the masks, then adds more grunt. Everything gets done not by drag and drop plugins, but more by him building up the things. He's a craftsman that takes his time. He's been working on this one thing for nearly 4 weeks, and I can't remember ever having that much time on an asset. But let's call it a collection of assets, because it is a lot of assets. But what I'm trying to say is, it's an amazing thing to watch, and he doesn't teach you anything. He will answer your questions about the art he's doing. He will tell you his process. He will show you things that inspire him. He will do something. He can't tell you anything about the game. That's part of the NDA. He can't tell you what's coming next, and he certainly can't give away any freebies on game content. But he has been giving away content for Blender add-ons. He is giving away this Friday, which would be Friday the... What will it be? 6th, will it be, of March that we're doing this?
5th.
5th of March. If this won't be out by then, but on the 5th of March, he gave away a free license to Substance for a year. So it was absolutely fantastic. And again, I've waffled on about it, but for me, all praise to him, and I know why he's doing it. He's doing it as part of his own journey and keeping sane, as we all are in this time for him, and it's helping a lot of people. They did a review of artwork for students who are subscribers with about 4 of his colleagues that are from different companies. It was the most genuine, honest review of artwork I have ever seen, and everybody that got reviewed went away feeling good about what they'd achieved so far and knew what they needed to do to progress further. It was fantastic. So I'm giving him my Hero of the Month badge, and I think that's something we could do, Gary. We could create a bit of a
Hero of the Month.
Hero of the Month, or Hero of the Podcast. So he's ours, and one day we will get him on this. I promise. I promise we'll get him on it.
That would be nice.
Yeah, it would, because I won't have talked to him before. Probably it'll be hello.
I've just written that down, John. Hero of the Week. It's just written down. I have to admit, we'll make jingles. Hero of the Week.
Yeah.
I won't do that again. Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I've also been asked today to be part of a panel to design some of the content and delivery methods for Next Gen Skills Academy. So that's really cool.
Okay.
They're wanting input from education as well as from industry. And I was talking about the Twitch stream idea, where if you watch Twitch, I think there's some AI going on in the background that knows if you're watching by the amount of interaction you do in the in the chat channels. If you don't chat in the chat channels on Twitch, you see more adverts, unless you're a subscriber. So yeah, I think there's some stuff there, and I think that's an interesting thing because it keeps you. It's kind of like sometimes you need a break, don't you? So when we look, and this is going back to education. This is me thinking out loud. Sometimes we need a break from the lesson. We need a break from what we're learning, and we need to let it sit, as my grandma used to say. We need to let it sit and just pause, and then come back to it from a different angle or perspective. So that's something I'm going to be working on over summer.
What? Pausing?
Well, I'm good at that.
Well, that's really good. That is. It makes me feel like I can't talk about anything I'm doing in a minute.
No, well, that's why I'm gap filling. So
no, it's not. You're not filling a gap. You're not filling a gap. Well, you are, but you know what I mean. I mean, you're not saying you're filling a gap. You're doing a wonderful thing. So,
Gary, you said 2.92 has arrived.
Yes, I did. Well, we did mention this very briefly before we started recording, and then stopped ourselves because we know this is not what this is the platform, not before the platform. This platform actually talk about what's happening, and basically this week 2.92 has finally dropped. It's gone from its what's it called again? Not a technical release, it's a something release, isn't it? When they put it out there and saying it's we reckon it's ready. Have a play. Tell us what's wrong. It's
a beta release, isn't it? Because
it's not. No, this is a full release.
No, it was in beta though. I would consider it a beta release up until Thursday last week. It dropped.
Yes.
Because the servers went into meltdown a little bit.
Yes, just a little bit.
Took a while to download.
It's I think Blender's come a very, very long way over a very short period of time. And there's lots of things, and people have gone, oh yeah, no, but can I do this? But can I do that? And no, I'm bored. And don't do that. It's not like Houdini, is it? No. You can't model in it very well. No. You can't animate in it. No, I haven't got a clue. You can't do this. You can't draw in it, can you? And then basically, so everyone was always trying to say, but I've got these 5 pieces of software that I can do all the stuff I need to do with.
It's not like Houdini. You're right.
No.
But it's getting like Houdini.
Now. It's very much like it. Yeah. And this is a particularly, now it's comparable to Cinema 4D. I think probably is the closest thing it's probably closest to.
Yeah.
But only in one very small respect, because obviously it's gone from being this people saying, oh, I wanted to do this, I want to do that. And whereas if you don't say that to you don't turn around to Autodesk and I say I want a proper working animated 2D animation package, please, inside of this software, because they'd say, well, go and buy something else. Don't bother with me. Go and get.
I I think this is what we're talking about. When we're not saying that the industry is going to move away from Maya or Max or Houdini or Cinema 4D anytime soon. That's not what we're saying.
No, what we're saying is that if you want a free way of doing all of that stuff and actually learn the pipelines involved in making, modelling, animating, rendering, even compositing, but I wouldn't necessarily... you can composite with it, obviously, and also you can edit in it as well. You can sculpt in it.
I believe that those are scheduled for the 3.0 release. Those will be scheduled as major uplifts in the 3.0 release, so that would be interesting.
It's bonkers.
It is bonkers.
What you can do with it, but I mean, it's like, and I know people now in the industry. It is becoming an industry standard. It is slowly but surely, whether these large players like it or not, it is getting to a stage where it's actually being used. Not for the big stuff, as John said. No one's going to drop. No one's going to drop Maya. No one's going to drop Maya. And no one's going to drop for TV and film stuff. No one's going to drop 3ds Max for Archviz. They're just not going to do it.
No.
But you can learn the principles of all of that within Blender.
I think more than anything else as well, you can achieve the same standards that those packages will give you.
Absolutely.
Running through the same pipeline. And I think going back to what Tom's doing on his channel, it was just mind-blowing. The question was asked several times. I think I asked it twice. Blender, where does it fit with Face Punch? His answer was very simple. They don't care what you use to create the assets. They just want the assets.
Yeah.
So they subscribe and pay for Substance, and they pay for Topagun and Marmoset. He uses Marmoset to bake down from the high resolution model mesh down to the lower resolution model mesh. Oh, right. Only because Blender doesn't handle the polygons as well as Marmoset does.
Welcome to 3.0 when that comes out.
Yeah, and there's a lot of talk on that already in the Blender Foundation chat rooms about the poly limits and things. Maybe as computing, you don't want to be reliant on your hardware ever to do it. You want the software to do it as much as it can. But once again, new release, Gary, under 200 meg.
I know.
Just saying it,
Today, as I was about to say, today I had to update my Maya to 2020.4 because there's stuff the access to a motion library in there that I need for something I'm working on, and had to log into the company account and then go to the page and download it, and it was 2 gig for the download, and it's 2 downloads, so it's 2.6 gig or something like that. And then then you unarchive it, and then it installs it. And I literally
6 gig or something, isn't it? Is it there or thereabouts?
It's probably something like that. It still feels bloated, But it does an awful lot of stuff. But I cannot compare. You can't compare it to Blender.
No, I used to work indirectly for Alias Wavefront, who made Maya. I worked for them, and some of that original code is probably still in there.
I'm absolutely certain.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things. Blender's in a position where it can be rebuilt from the ground up if it doesn't work.
Well, that's what they actually did there, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Was it 2.6 where they just sort of went right, stripping it back? I can't remember now. But it's not that long ago.
No. So the next point, moving us forward, new Blender. Obviously, there'll be lots of getting exciting. I've just bought Fluent, which is a great add-on, as recommended by Tom, and I've started playing with it. It's a little bit like Hard Ops. I think it's probably not as good as it's probably not as matured as Hard Ops, but it does a lot of what Hard Ops does. But then it's also got this cloth stuff inside it, which looks pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to that. That looks quite cool. So moving us on, there's an update for DaVinci. If anyone's noticed, so DaVinci 17's landed.
Yeah, I mean, the DaVinci Resolve is just a great, really, really great tool. I absolutely love it. And especially if you want to actually buy the full version, it just costs. It's negligible.
For what you get out of it, it's yeah. I mean, and I think that's one of the things. I've not wanted to buy add-ons. I've been trying to be vanilla with a Blender for a long time. But when you watch someone just rip through a model in, let's say, 20 minutes, and you think then about the vanilla creation route you would take, the process you'd do, and you think, that's going to take me the best part of the day to do that, and I probably won't get it as good. But then you just start to think, I understand. And Thomas actually said something in his... somebody asked about cheating. Some of the lecturers had said, well, if you use these things, that it's cheating. Like substance, for instance, or things like that. And Thomas's answer was pretty blunt and quite, I would say, quite industry, like the mainstream of industry. They just want the thing out of it as quick as possible.
Yeah.
So they don't care how what you use to do it. Just get it done.
Can I say, though, from a teaching perspective, and this is coming from me, not from you, so this is going to be a bit of a spin on it, but I was doing some teaching at a college in Manchester, and this is when I was teaching them how to basically do some colour correction and fixes and stuff in After Effects. And I'm sure I've told you this before, John. I'm pretty sure I've told you this before. This guy basically said, "Here, what do you think?" And I went, "Oh, that looks really nice. What did you do?" He said, "Oh, well, I opened up Bullet Looks." And I went, "You what?" He said, "I opened up, Bullet Looks. And I went, "Yeah." And then you clicked on the filter button, yeah? And he went, "Yeah, that's exactly what I did." I said, "And that was it?" "Yeah." I said, "Okay, well, that's fine. But you need to learn the principles of why what you have done looks nice. I don't mind you using it, but I now want you to turn it off and try and recreate that look you want using the colour controls. And when you realise why you can't get that green in the bottom and you can't get that red in the top, I will show you how you do that with one set of colour curves." And he went, "Oh, what do you mean with one set of colour curves?" I said, yeah. You can do all of the colour fixing that you want to do with one set of colour curves in After Effects, if you really want to. And then I literally went through it with him and explained to him that you can use that to punch up the reds in the highs. You can bring it down punch up the greens in the lows. You can really push around all your colours with just three lines of colour. And I stopped and did it for everybody, and they were in front of everybody, and they were all like, "What?" It's and then I said, "Right, now as long as you understand the principles there, go back to your Bullet Looks." And he was like, "No, I'm good."
Yeah, and I would say that the add-on for me, obviously I'm using an add-on based on years of doing it the traditional hard way.
Yep.
I would say that for some of these, I am starting to ease my thoughts on some of this because it's now becoming part of the workflow, if that makes sense. Yeah. Things like Substance Painter are definitely part of the workflow. I think in the early days, and I was a tutor that would have said, "Well, do you know how your UV mapping? You've done all your UVs. Do you know why you're getting those error problems around those edges and seams, even in Substance?" And just slapping a smart material on to kind of hide it means I can still see it when I go looking for it, which means, and obviously smart materials then have to be baked out and everything else. You've got to get it all right. So I was back probably 2 revisions ago, I was saying it's not right to just jump straight onto those without going through at least some of the colour, understanding how to use a UV map to create a flat version of what you're going to do. Say using Critter or Photoshop or whatever it is you're going to do. Mm-hmm. But I am now thinking, after seeing Tom work and his explanations, that yes, it's more important to know what painted wood looks like, and then the wood underneath looks like, and if that wood has a bit of mould on it looks like. How you separate those 3 layers, because Substance is now part of Adobe, there's a lot of that layering going on. They've really accelerated that. And I think that essentially Substance is the 3D version of Photoshop. So you're effectively, you are doing a Photoshop job, but just in a 3D space. And that's how it's come along.
In the same way that they want people with skills in, Photoshop and so on, they also just want people who are skilled Substance users. And that sounds wrong, but you know what I mean.
Substance users, not substance abusers.
Abusers, no. No, it's a proper.
That's usually
working
my
skill,
job, Gary, making those little faux pas.
Oh no! Please don't deny me the pleasure of putting my foot in my own mouth. But the thing is, I mean, there's a friend of mine, and Sylvia is an artist, and her main tool, pretty much. I mean, she started down the Maya. She still does stuff with Maya, but she does things with Maya because she's doing stuff in Substance to put them back onto Maya. So someone will probably build it. She might build stuff as well, but she doesn't build so much stuff because she's a brilliant Substance artist.
Yeah. And you need to build things like grunge maps. You need to build things like like fingerprint marks, streaks, and things. Those things are built in another package usually and brought then in as a mask in Substance to get the best out of it. And again, it's the workflow. Build a library, have those things to hand. Buy it if you need to.
Buy it if you need to. You can buy it anything these days, pretty much.
Pretty much. I remember someone once told me that at some point there will no longer be content creation. It will just be purchasing content and moving it around because the content will already have been created at some point and therefore it's just reusable.
It's pretty much there. I think it's there already.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the kit bashing stuff is starting to come to fruition on that.
Completely.
Some amazing stuff going on with the kit bash kits that you can find. A lot of Blender artists are getting involved in it as well, which is cool. Yeah,
there's loads and loads of stuff on Gumroad. Some of the stuff you can get for nothing, or you can pick a very low price, or you can, if you want to, bung up a few more quid. There's some incredibly talented people who are using Blender to generate stuff that will generate income.
Yeah, I'll give you a throwaway now as an educator. I wouldn't care if you went on Gumroad and got some free assets, stuck them in your game level, textured them up yourself, because usually they come untextured if they're free.
Yeah.
But so long as when you do your rationale of why you did that, and you're talking about the time-saving aspect and things like that, I am going to be well happy in a very distinctive way on you using another asset. Of course, if your brief is to model, I don't know, a kettle, and you just download a kettle off a Gumroad, you're not really going to fulfill the brief on how you created the kettle, because pressing click buy is not the way for that one.
No, but if you're making a room, if you're making a whole environment which is full of stuff, so full of books and kettles,
borrow it off your mates. Borrow it off your mates. If your mates have already modelled stuff, share the models. And all you need to do is just justify why you've done it that way.
Be honest. Honesty is always the best policy.
It is.
And
moving us on.
Yes.
Yeah. Moving us on. Why is it? I'm just going to point out episode 3, and I am now the timekeeper. I've realised this. This is one of the good things. Gary sends me the agenda, and then I get to timekeep. So we've talked about Blender, and we talked about a few other things this week in CG. I think we've covered that in quite graphic detail.
I think we have.
Graphter's detail.
Grafteric detail.
We're going to talk about a short film.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, this is. I mentioned this to John a while ago, and he ran with it. It was meant. No, I know it was meant to be something. It's something. It's an idea I've had for a short film that I had for a long time, and I've always told a few people, and I've never had the actual time to do it myself, and that's the bottom line. And I really want to get this thing done. I love it. I love the idea. It's developed and developed and developed, and it's still finishing off that development stage right now. And I've had this idea for over 10 years. Yeah, over 10 years.
You told me that. I mean, that's what you told me 3 months ago.
No, seriously.
You did.
You're making it sound like I just came up with it 3 months ago.
No. I'm saying 3 months ago it was 10 years. So
it's all right. It's 3 years and 10 months. Are you happy?
By now? Episode 5,
it'll be 3 years, 10 months, 2 weeks. And
I'm a positive disruptor.
You are not helping.
I was accused of that today, and I'm running with it.
So basically the idea came to me, and I have developed it, and it is all written down now, pretty much as shooting script. It is, yes. There you go, John.
Brilliant.
He doesn't believe me, but it is.
I'm just trying not to put in a Chuckle Brother thing there, because it's come to him, and it's now going to go to me.
To you.
To me.
Yeah. So basically, and John, when I told him the idea, went, "Oh, that's great! I love that!" And then immediately thought that I told him because I wanted to do much more with it and involve more people in it, which hadn't been my intention. My intention was to share the idea with him just to see what he thought of it. But I'm very, very glad that John did exactly what he did, because it made me realise that we, the two of us together, and other people who we'd like to get involved with it, have got a wonderful opportunity. I can quite happily step away from doing all the grunt work on this, apart from the obvious coming up with the concept and working out things and maybe doing some level of like scamp work and boarding. But I will happily move away from the modelling, move away from the animation and the rigging, move away from the comping. I will not move away from the colouring, because that's really important to me. And the styles, obviously, also going to be down to me. And I will essentially take a creator role, and John will take a level of a production role.
So creative director Gary and creative producer John.
Yes. And the point of that would being that then we can get you lot and anybody else, particularly the students at John's college, will be our
college.
First. It could be anybody.
Any college.
And we will, we will only use, because this was my remit when I came up with this 10 years ago. I will only use open source software. I only wanted to use Blender. I only wanted to use, at that point, it was Paint.net.
I'm just going to drop in. I'm not sure whether university students should apply right now in this, because, and I'm going to say this very clearly, at the moment we'll be in a very embryonic stage, and I want to build, we're going to use a website, we're going to build into that website a way of laying the scene out and allowing people to submit things. So assets will be created, and then we will look at the assets.
Yes.
We and possibly some others as well from hopefully industry that might be involved.
And here's the thing. It will be treated like it's a proper production. So this is not going to be any slapdash thing. I've got experience of doing this sort of stuff. I've worked in 2D animation. I've worked in TV animation. I've worked on the pipeline for a 2D show. And I developed an animation system for mouths on a show for children's BBC called Strange Hill High. And so I've seen, and also I've worked in a lot of different companies, and I've seen where pipelines work and where pipelines fail, and I know that whatever we put forward will end up failing in certain points. It will, just because that's the way these things go. But it will be as close and solid to a real proper business working pipeline. But everything will be remote and everything will be open source. So there's no way that anyone's got to pay a bunch of money for anything. It is all about skill sets, and it's all about working to deadlines, getting things done on time, getting things back on time, getting things out. And so you can look at it, and you can, at the end of the day, you'll be able to look at this whole thing and say, I built that, or you could say, or I animated that scene, or look at that expression on the face that they let through. That look of absolute terror. Yes, there will be points of terror. That terror, or that look of love. Yes, there are looks of love. Those the things you say, I did that, and they liked it.
I'm kind of liking the Patreon type thing where we're not looking for money on this.
No.
But what I'm thinking is, when we get contributors that clearly have it, what we want, and it will happen. You will be repeaters. It will consistently come back to see if you've got time to do more stuff on it.
Yes.
And if you are students, what I'm hoping is that we can actually arrange for, shall we say, a tiered level of support to then help you develop your skills further in the direction that we want to go. So these could be animation masterclasses, talking about how rigging processes work, or whatever it is that's the thing that's been identified as the thing that needs some work and development on.
Absolutely.
And that will be the give back. That's the payment factor for working on this project. And I'd just like to point, as Gary takes a big intake of breath to start, Snowgun Films, if you've seen Snowgun Films, they created the Troll Bridge for Terry Pratchett, and all was done...
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace. All was done through crowdsourcing and funding and everything else. So it's a very similar sort of mentality on a much smaller scale. We're not talking about going out and filming giant trolls and bridges.
The point I would like to make completely clear, even though there's mentions of Patreon or anything like that, we do not want money for this.
No money.
We are not going to make any money out of this. Nothing at all.
This is a passion project
Yes.
Gary's vision out there, but for me, it's an opportunity for us to. It was too good an opportunity. I could see it immediately.
It's his fault.
For students to get involved with just the process of making something, and I explained I've tried to go around the houses on this one a few times. I can't find anything on the internet anywhere, but there was once a Maya project that had musical instruments brought to life, and it was split up into mini scenes and everything else, and it worked. It was done through a website, and I cannot for the life of me, and my good friend Sedley remembers it, so I know I'm not making this up.
Is that Sedley Brown?
Sedley Brown, who wants to get involved in this, by the way.
Good.
So we've got that's another creative director.
New blood. No. I think it's so. At the end of the day, as things go forward down the line, we are going to get this out, get this to people, get input. I'm probably going to have a chat with a friend of mine who is. I mean, I do storyboarding for work now. I didn't used to do storyboarding. I don't consider I can see what I want, I can draw that down, but I don't consider myself very good at character drawing. It's not something I'm particularly good at, whereas I know a lot of people who are. So there's a couple of people in particular. One in particular is a guy who is a brilliant storyboard artist. And so we can really make sure that we get, I think, quite a nice wide spectrum of people involved in this.
Yeah. I mean, I won't be able to stop myself from getting involved in some of the modelling and it'll all come together. I know it will, but I will where I can. I will not, if that makes sense. So when we've got it nailed somewhere else or developing it somewhere else, we will. Yeah. And the process we want to go through, and I sort of talked Gary through this last week, was, and it's going to be hard for Gary. He's got to get as much down in out of his head, and then that's there where it will stay. The thing will be brought to life, hopefully, by the community that we build.
Yes.
That's going to be it. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody will submit something and it's like, that's the character we're doing for the main character.
No.
And what we'll expect is, hopefully, we'll get 20 versions of that character or more. I'm maybe bigging it up, we might only get 2, but you see where we're going with this. The more that get involved with it, the more opportunities.
Maybe looking to get one, John, at this rate.
But once we set that then in stone, once that is set, as it would be in a normal production pipeline, then everything is built off that. So then, obviously, the characters will be modelled from those designs. Storyboards will be created will be developed further in the art style that's been chosen as it moves forward. I mean, this is so exciting for me, and I know we're waffling a little bit, but that's what the Grafters do. We waffle.
Well, I waffle more than he does normally. But I don't know what's wrong with me tonight. I'm a little bit quieter than usual. It's not like me, this, John.
It's because I've got my oxygen levels up and I've got my oxygen back. By the way, I'm cycling 300k for breast cancer this month in March. So, to say that I couldn't cycle 3k when I first got over COVID. And I think on that note, Gary, I think we've probably covered the whole spectrum of your list.
We have, but as we go further down, the line with these, we will be having more discussions about how this is happening. We'll start pushing things out, allowing people access to the shooting script, which will be completely there'll be no boards as yet, but a shooting script with an indication of what each shot is and what is happening in each shot. Yeah,
because at the end of the day, both of us have got full-time jobs.
Yes,
and that's probably one of the key things that I think in the first few months will drive. Just drive, and also we want to build the community. And I was speaking to someone today about how if you watch The Voice in the UK or in America or wherever it is, you notice that when it gets towards the end of the chair turns, people who would have gone through definitely with 4 turns don't get a turn, and you can see the judges saying, if I'd got more light, if I'd got more spaces, I would have turned for them. And sometimes you can get that when you're rushing through on design work as well. You go too early with your initial designs and then you have to go back. Sometimes we need to explore them and see how they fit with the world and environment and the environments that are going to be built around them.
Yep.
And then maybe they don't fit. And maybe we'll need to go back to think about whether the character needs to change slightly or whatever else. But that's exactly where the professionals who are looking at it, I'm using a big P on that one, they'll have their say.
Can't we have a small P instead, please?
No, those are the professionals.
Oh, right. Can I have a pee, please, Bob? That's going back a bit. And on that note, I think we'll better call it a day.
So, it's good night from me.
It's good night from him and all. Take care, guys. Speak to you soon. Keep your heads down and try and stay safe.
Stay safe, everyone.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
This work is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0 international license. Any opinions stated during the course of this podcast belong purely to myself and to John and are based at the time that we record this. The theme music is My Everything by DJ Quads. If you like that, and I'm sure you probably did, there is a lot more of his great stuff which you can find at soundcloud.com/DJ Quads. Or his music is also promoted by www.free-stock-music.com.